Hey everybody, welcome to USF's third annual Masters of Data Science Product Analytics Venture Panel. This is our first and hopefully last fully remote version of this event. Before we begin, I want to cover a few preliminaries and some background information. First off, parts of this presentation have been lightly edited or re-recorded due to some technical difficulties that we encountered during the original recording. So if you see any jumps or anything like that, it wasn't intentional and we apologize for it. I want to talk before we get into the actual product presentations a little bit about the genesis of the class and what the outcomes that we are looking for. About 3 years ago, the Masters of Data Science faculty realized that our students who were incredibly technical and incredibly strong on the computing side were missing something in their education, which is that they were missing the opportunity to really flex their entrepreneurial muscles. Many of them have come to the University of San Francisco in order to be a part of the startup scene, to see companies being built and to experience that firsthand. And we currently weren't providing that within the curriculum. So we created a very unique 7-week hybrid course. The course was hybrid in the sense that it basically entailed 2 different streams of content. Half the curriculum would focus on the technical aspects of building a product, such as how to launch a web server, how to connect it to a database, how to build a front end. At the same time, the other part of the curriculum would be the students learn a little bit about business strategy. Why do some companies make money while other companies do not? And hopefully some of that knowledge would filter down to their own building of the product. Because the course is so short, we did something even more unique, which is we co-taught it. Diane Woodbridge taught the technical aspects. She focused on the nuts and bolts of the actual product building, while I focused a little bit more on the business aspects. Over the last 3 years, Diane and I have iterated on the content to a crazy degree. We've honed down quite a bit around the product requirements, team size, what technologies to use, which ones not to use, and a ton of other important variables. Each year, we've seen a step size increase in the quality of the final products. And I think that as anyone who's seen them year over year over year, I think that you'll definitely see the reflection of those positive changes in the products that we have today. So before we jump into the product videos, I want to do 2 other final things. Number one is I want to introduce our panelists. And then the second thing, I'll talk a little bit more about the logistics or what to expect in the rest of the video. So our panelists, we had 4 delightful venture capitalist panelists today show up. The first one was James Alcorn. James works at Zeta Ventures, an investment firm primarily focused on AI-first B2B companies. Before his time at Zeta, he was at Spectrum Equity and Aventus Capital. And James studied at UC Berkeley, where he was a member of the rowing team. This was his 2nd year on the panel, so he knew a little bit more about what to expect, and we were really happy to have him back. The second person on the panel, this was Peter Cooney. And Peter, just like James, this was his 2nd year on the panel. He leads data analytics and model building at Blumberg Capital for both new and current investments. Peter focuses primarily in fintech, AI, ML, and enterprise software. Peter graduated from Penn, where he studied econ finance and management. And as I said before, this was Peter's 2nd year on the panel. We were also very, very happy to have him back. Our third panelist, and this person was new, was James Richards. So James is currently an angel investor at Garuda Ventures, which he also co-manages. He sold his first company to TriNet after scaling the business to over $1 million in revenue and raising capital from Colshaw, Y Combinator, and others. Before that, he was a Wall Street lawyer and passed the New York State Bar exam when he was 20. James was an advisor at Y Combinator, and in 2015, he was on Forbes 30 Under 30 list. He was new this year, and I hope that he had a wonderful time. Our 4th and final panelist was Tyler Steinke. Tyler is the Director of Corporate Innovation Services at Runway Innovation Hub, a leading startup ecosystem and innovation consultancy located in the Twitter building in San Francisco. He and his team provide a unique one-stop consulting solution for large corporations like Fujitsu and Lenovo to create actionable strategies to drive digital transformation through startup engagement. This was Tyler's 1st year participating, and I was very excited to hear his feedback. So those were our 4 panelists. It's a little bit confusing. James, Peter, and Tyler. 2 Jameses aren't helping. But what we did, and the plan was, because of the remoteness of it, we had each team pre-record a demo video, about 4 minutes long, and then we would all watch the videos together. At the end of those videos, the panelists would ask about 4 or 5 minutes of questions to each of the team leaders that were selected for each product. And so the whole thing took about 45 minutes to an hour, and we're going to jump in to the products right away. The one thing I do want to say is that sadly, we did lose the video for one of our 5 products, which was Sparkle, and I do apologize for that. But other than that, you should definitely watch the rest of the videos. It's a really fun time, and thanks for watching.
Medication is effective at fighting disease, but only when patients take it. One of the greatest impediments to an individual's recovery from chronic illness is not the lack of effective medication, but it's a lack of adherence to their prescribed medication schedules. The Mayo Clinic estimates that approximately 50% of patients do not take their medication as advised by their doctor. As a result, patient health suffers, and avoidable hospitalizations cost the US $289 billion annually. We, at Sparkle, have built a platform centered around AI that encourages medication adherence at scale. By connecting doctors and patients through web and mobile applications, Sparkle ensures that patients are taking their medication when they need it. After registering with their healthcare providers, patients can download our Apple Watch and iPhone apps to log their medication intake. Based on their prescription schedules, these apps notify patients to take their meds when necessary. A typical patient would begin by retrieving the day's medication schedule. After that, they can click record on their Apple Watch and proceed to take their meds as normal. Our machine learning algorithms then analyze the motion sensor data from the watch to determine if they took their medication and identify how many pills remain. We're working on a feature that would remove the necessity for the patient to manually click any buttons to record their intake. As you can see, this automated process relieves patients of the burden imposed by juggling their prescriptions themselves. Doctors can conveniently view all patient information and intake history in our web application. A rich yet intuitive interface enables them to view patients who are deviating from treatment, adhering, or simply unprescribed. Most importantly, doctors can quickly identify at-risk patients and make interventions if necessary. For example, we see here that Matt is deviating from some of his medication, as shown in red. This further allows doctors to narrow in on patients' adherence rate on a prescription level. In addition, our dashboard provides doctors a bird's-eye view of all adherence statistics, which they can use to spot trends or pinpoint frequently missed medications. Given the strain that non-adhering patients place on their own health, medical insurance companies, and hospital resources, we have no doubt that there's an incredibly large and untapped market for our product. After all, it's the medical insurance firms that primarily bear the brunt of these unnecessary costs. We plan to form partnerships throughout industry that would enable patients with a proven history of taking their medication on time to receive discounts on their health insurance rates, the same way a clean driving record can earn you a lower car insurance rate. It's widely believed in medical communities that increasing adherence may have a greater effect on health than any one specific improvement in medical therapy. With your help, Sparkle will create a splash big enough to reach far corners of the healthcare and medical insurance industries. We're a team of engineers, designers, and data scientists who are solving medication adherence.
Hello, my name is Kevin and I am a co-founder of Impulses. Impulses is an app that helps you curb bad spending habits and rewards savings behavior. Before we get into the details of the app, I want to start off with a story that may be a familiar one to those who've ever, like myself, tried to change their spending habits. This is my friend Bob. Bob, like many people, wants to save more money. However, Bob has some bad spending habits. He goes to the local cafe for a morning coffee before work 4 times a week and buys lunch from the deli near his office 3 days a week. Bob is spending nearly $80 a week on coffee and $120 a week on lunch, which totals to $200 a month on coffee and lunch. So Bob, in an effort to save more money, sets out to limit his spending and make his lunch and coffee at home prior to going to work. While he sticks to his plan in the beginning, he forgets his lunch one day and ends up buying it at the deli. A few days later, he forgets his coffee and lunch and ends up buying again. And as the weeks go by, he slowly falls back into his old habits of spending $200 a month on coffee and lunch. If Bob's story is a familiar one, then you're not alone. Starting to save by changing spending habits is hard because it often requires routine change. We often forget and go back to the routines that we're used to. 2, consumers sometimes do not realize how much or how frequently they are spending. If you ask me if I went to Starbucks this morning, I could probably tell you. However, if you ask me how many times I went to Starbucks in the past 7 or 30 days, or how much I spent during that time period, I'd probably make up some number that reflects what I would ideally like to spend, not the reality. 3, savings behavior is almost never rewarded immediately. Unlike spending, where you don't have to look far to find a loyalty program, credit card rewards, or a 2-day free shipping program to encourage you to part with your hard-earned cash. This is where the Impulses app can help. The Impulses app helps to ease these saving pain points and curb bad spending habits by following 3 main ideas. 1, detect. The app detects bad spending behavior, focusing on common high-frequency and easily replaceable spending categories like coffee shop purchases and dining out. The user can link their bank account or credit card accounts to the app, and Impulses analyzes the user's transactions and offers insights to the user where they could be saving money in these high-frequency, easily replaceable spending categories. We show the user how much they are spending, how frequently, what days they are spending, and provide a summary of how much they will save if they cut back slightly on that spending category. 2, remind. A key feature of the app is what we call habits. Habits are text reminders that the user can set up to remind them to save money. We believe that well-timed reminders can work wonders for staying on track with good spending behaviors and provide accountability. For example, a user can set a text notification to notify them in the morning to make coffee instead of buy. 3, reward. We don't want to just remind the user, but also want to reward the user when they do save to add extra incentive of staying on track. Users can respond to savings reminders with a yes or no, and if the user responds yes, then they are awarded virtual coins that they can use to enter into lotteries for a chance to win real prizes. Now more than ever, Americans are in need of saving more money. 50% of Americans are unable to cover an unexpected $400 expense because of lack of savings, and the average American household has nearly $9,000 in credit card debt. Secondly, the easily replaceable high-frequency spending categories constitute a sizable amount of the typical American millennials' spending. Millennials are quickly becoming America's largest consumer base and spending nearly $2,000 annually on coffee shop purchases and $2,800 on dining out. Cutting back just 20% on these spending categories can net the average millennial nearly $1,000 in savings per year. All that to say is that there is a large market of savers for Impulses to fit into. Let's revisit how my friend Bob is doing. Now that Bob is using Impulses, he is saving more money and much happier. If you want to be like Bob and have more money in your pockets and keep your bad spending habits in check out Impulses.
To your spending databases is hard one, right? But I think there are companies that have tried this, like Mint, for example, or even like your credit card company tries to give you a spend allocation and suggestion. So it seems like your guys' innovation is on the behavioral psychology, right? Like how does a push get you to change your spending habits? So my question is kind of on the, how do you verify that it works? Like what technology or research or kind of like tests have you done to kind of say, hey, this is the best way, given that we have this data back end of like getting people to change their habits?
Hi, Peter. Thank you for your question. So the few incentives that we came up with, one, the virtual coin, the second, the way we're trying to encourage this behavior by notifying people proactively. And these are sort of stemming from a field research done in Kenya. They were trying to encourage like people, underprivileged people, to save more, to be more prepared for unprecedented events, and is proven and effective. And one of the most effective method that they use is actually awarding them with virtual coins with literally no physical values, and which turns out the experiment relative to control, the people that are saving twice as much as compared to control. So there are research behind it, and it's just that this methodology is actually working, and that's where we're backing, and that's what came up. That's how we came up with our idea, how we want to plan and coordinate this product to make sure that that people will follow through with this type of methodology.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I would say, getting a a psychology professor as an advisor, if you did follow through, that would be like a really interesting way, because we've seen that in some other companies that, especially on like routine, it's usually in like a business context, right? But spending it also really applies. So cool. Thanks.
Right, for sure. Thank you. And just to layer a little bit more on top of that is that we do realize like habitual change is very difficult, and we wanted to stress that in order to replace the existing habit, we need to build upon a new habit. That's why we're trying to emphasize that, okay, maybe it'll be better to replace by the habit of spending, replace it with the habit of saving instead.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I didn't miss this. This is Tyler here from Runway. One quick question is, how do you make money? I didn't exactly pick that one out because it's in the financial space, in the fintech space. I think this is the hardest part around monetization. And it's a pretty crowded space. So I would love to learn a little bit more about your financial model.
For sure, 100%. That's something we've definitely thought about as well. I think there's several ways that we wanted to basically generate revenue throughout, and the major focus for us at the beginning is certainly growing our customer base and user base. But one way to make money is to generate profit is to basically posting ads, and second way would be partnership with investment platforms, mutual fund, to sort of channel some of the savings towards like different platforms and sort of act in a way like an online brokerage type of revenue model. And the third way is partnership with merchants, partnership with different consumer segments to, let's say, promote their product on our site, and maybe partnership with them to get their product as a reward, as a prize for our lottery drawing process. Is also a third way to generate revenue. And this will help us cover expenses, and ultimately our major focus would be growing our customer base, and potentially down the road will be interest in acquisition as well.
Definitely. Yeah, that's interesting. And something that I might question just the team, and you don't have to respond back to this, but an idea for thought is the concept a product, a full company, or is it a feature? And is this something where you want to do independent, or is this a tool that you then sell to other apps or integrations with other companies around the gamification, the behavioral science portion of it? Are you trying to be the platform, or are you trying to be a tool for other platforms? So just a thought to consider.
Yeah, that's something we've definitely considered as well, is that it depends on how things goes along the way. I think if we're able to develop a full ecosystem throughout the first couple of years, then we're able to bring in more features and having like sort of bringing this product as a social identity for users, we would be able to be independent and provide better and more comprehensive services. And on the other hand, I think being a feature is also growing into, let's say, 500,000 users in a year, and then being absorbed. This customer base is valuable for financial institutions, financial institutions and consumer base to absorb is also a route to go, depending on where we position ourselves and how we develop along the way, who's interested in partnershiping with us. I think that's all factors and variant to consider down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Nick, I think you're muted.
Great. I'll figure this out eventually. Yeah. So those were some really good questions. So let's jump to our next one. We're a little bit behind, so I'm gonna cut it just a hair bit short on that one. So Kirsten, if you could start our next one, that would be wonderful.
Hi everyone, we're Team Hire Ready. Our mission is to help candidates find their dream job in data science. In the job search journey, the interview preparation is very time-consuming. It's difficult to curate practice questions, organize your notes, and find the right people to mock interview with. Data science interviews are particularly challenging. The term data science is now used across many job titles, and there's no standard definition for responsibilities across companies. It's no wonder that candidates often feel lost and alone in the interview process. But no worries, we now have the perfect solution for you. Hire Ready. HireReady provides automated mock interviews tailored for each job. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Sean for the product demo.
Hi everyone, this is Sean here. I want to give you a quick demo on how to use HireReady to practice mock interviews. Let's jump right in. Once you're at the website, find a job posting link that you're interested in and paste it here. You can also manually provide the text of the job description, but let's use the automatic scraper for now. After you click the Start button, you'll be asked to choose the format of the interview. If you want to simulate a real interview, just choose audio-based question prompts and audio answer recording. However, if you're at a busy place like a coffee shop, or if you just prefer typing with your keyboard, we have that option for you as well. For today, let's do a fully audio-based session. First, we need to give the website permission to use the microphone, and then we can officially start by clicking on this button. At the moment, each interview has 6 questions so that it doesn't take too long to complete, and you can always try more problems by starting a new session. All the questions are chosen based on the job description you provided, and that should give you some sense of what to expect in a real interview. For the sake of time, I'll keep my answers brief, and I'm only going to try 1 or 2 questions.
How do we evaluate classification models?
You need a metric like accuracy or AUC.
What is the difference between a tuple and a list in Python?
Tuples are immutable, lists are mutable. And click Done when you're finished. And here we see a summary of key skills extracted by our models, which will be helpful if you need some quick insights on what to brush up on before an interview. You can also review your past answers. Tuples are immutable, lists are mutable. By comparing them to our reference answers, and this will save you some time from looking up on Google or flipping through a book. Now let's go to the dashboard. This is where you can find all your past interviews. You can go back and review them. You can try again if you want to. You can check your progress, and hope you enjoyed this demo. Now come get ready with HireReady.
Now you've seen our demo. You're probably wondering how it is different from the other products out there. I've tried many, and most of them are delivered through personal one-on-one coaching, which is expensive and not scalable. On the contrary, HireReady runs on a freemium model, so users can practice anytime, anywhere for free. This way, we can quickly grow our user base and collect training data for future features such as interview feedback. Also, we will be able to gain revenue from multiple sources. 1, from premium features such as interview answers and feedback. 2, referral commission by connecting companies and candidates directly through our platform. 3, revenue from in-app advertising. With more and more professionals pivoting into data careers, we believe HireReady presents great business opportunities. So try HireReady.app today and come talk to us to find out more.
Thank you. For the HireReady team, we have Yao. Let's make sure that she is unmuted.
Hey, Yao. How are you?
Hi, James. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. Small world. Yao and I used to work together. So I'm curious, like, couldn't this be more than just hiring? Like, it looked like test prep, you know, and yeah, hiring is a form of testing, but couldn't it also be used academically, like, you know, helping students prepare for exams? And it looked like it could be more than just data science as well, you know. In other words, are we looking at like the next Kaplan here?
Yeah, I think this product definitely has a lot of potential. But for the MVP, we want to have a focus. And because we have a domain expertise in this area, and it's a real pain point that we are all experiencing, that's why we want to focus on the recruiting for the interviewing for the data scientist job.
Got it. Makes sense.
Is there a way that you can objectively measure the success of the candidates that you send to a company? So for example, if this was salespeople, if you were hiring salespeople, success in one way can be measured by like if they obtain quota, for example, and having an objective measurement of success would allow you to feed back into your model and understand what a good candidate looks like. Is the same true of data scientists in any way? And if so, like, is that something that you'd want to do?
Yeah, we definitely want to automate the feedback and like scoring people's interview. But that's in the phase 2 of our product, because in order to build a machine learning algorithm to achieve that goal, we have to have training data first. And our app allows us to, capture that data through the free users, and then after analyzing and building the algorithm in the future, we should be able to, grade those interviews and also send the high quality candidates to the recruiters.
Yeah, I think look, a lot of every company hires people. Maybe not so much right now, but every company does hire people, and demand for data scientists is increasing, and that's like you can evidence that with data. But I'd say that nothing that you presented is really sufficiently distinct from other companies or existing startups out there. If you were able to use a machine learning model to predict which candidates are more likely to succeed in a given company, that would certainly be very, very differentiated. So it sounds like that's maybe a phase 2 or phase 3 of the company and the product.
Yeah, and also just to talk about the competitive landscape. Actually, as a future data scientist, I don't really see any product in the market that provides a similar experience as us. There are currently 2 types of competitors. One is the personal coach. You have to pay a lot of money to hire them, to have like one-on-one session with them. The other type is the free app, which basically allows you to schedule interviews with peers, with other people. But in that way, you get an inconsistent experience, because your experience is highly dependent on who you are paired with. And our tool is easily accessible. And also, because the data science career is evolving so rapidly, preparing yourself for interview is almost like a constant and full-time job. Because a lot of our alumni told us they have to constantly getting interviews, maybe a few interviews every year, just to keep their interview skills up to date and fresh. And because of that, I think having an easily accessible tool is very important. It also functions as like a system of record, a system of organization, so that people can always go back and review their previous practices and to improve on their skills.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Yao. Let's jump into our next one. I apologize to the panelists. It looks like we're going to be probably going, by my estimate, about 10, 15 minutes late. I hope that that's not too bad, but if you have to step out, I totally understand. So let's jump into our next one, Kirsten, which is Streamhopper.
Hi, I'm Shane, and this is Sean. We are 2 of the co-founders of Streamhopper and are here to tell you about our product. Today, streaming services are a ubiquitous part of life. 28% of American adults use streaming as their primary means of watching television. It all started with Netflix, but now there are more streaming services than we can even count on 2 hands. Even worse, every month, the content on each service changes. One day, The Office is on Netflix, the next it's going to NBC's new streaming platform, Peacock. We only see this problem growing in the near future. More and more streaming services are being created as legacy providers realize that streaming is the dominant medium for video content consumption. With the current boom in the subscription economy, many individuals are suffering from subscription fatigue. 47% of US customers are overwhelmed by the growing number of subscriptions required to watch what they want to watch. Even worse, 57% reported frustration when their favorite content disappears from platforms because the stream rights have expired.
Streamhopper is a free application designed to help consumers solve these problems. It is an online recommendation system that takes users' film and TV tastes and watching habits to recommend a single streaming service based on the current content available on each of them. Rather than paying for a large number of streaming services and then being overwhelmed by the options and not using any of them, Streamhopper provides a strategy for a user to hop from service to service every month based on their personalized viewing habits and only pay a fraction of what they would pay for multiple streaming services. So let's see how easy it is to use.
Now we can go ahead and navigate to our URL, which is streamhopper.video. And we'll go ahead and sign up and register for an account. We'll enter in our account details and information. And then Streamhopper is going to ask you a series of questions. The answers to these questions will be fed into our matching engine, which uses a clustering algorithm which can be used to match similar users together and recommend the streaming services. So we'll ask you questions, demographic-based questions, and also questions based on your favorite genres and maybe your least favorite genres. Then we'll start asking you a content-based question, which will ask you what are your top 3 favorite movies and what are your top 3 favorite shows. And this will help us recommend content on the platform for you to watch. So you can see there are 2 movie recommendations that are there and also 2 show recommendations. But let's say I don't like these recommendations. I can go to the profile tab, I can edit my answers, and I can receive a brand new recommendation. So now I'll go over to the search tab, and I'm wondering where Breaking Bad is located and what streaming service. So I can see by hitting search that it's located on Netflix, and oh wow, Better Call Saul is there too, which is super related to Breaking Bad, as well as some other content that's highly related.
With the features you've just seen, we believe that StreamHopper provides consumers with a tool to ease the frustration of selecting the best streaming platform for them. By matching personal tastes with the current content available, we help users reduce the amount of money they spend while maximizing their enjoyment.
Thank you, and we hope we've convinced you to visit StreamHopper.
Thanks so much. Before we begin with the questions, I do want to make it clear that Sean and Shane actually, they live together in a house with some other students, so they're not violating the shelter in place by doing this. So I just want to make that clear ahead of time. There may be some questions on that, so just presupposing that question. So, questions about StreamHopper from our panel. Oh, sorry, Shane is going to be the main person who just popped in. My apologies. Questions from the panel.
Hi, Shane. Tyler here. Quick question. Talk to me a little bit about how you handle the monthly occurrence of switching services. It sounds like what you're recommending is maybe people can switch monthly, or as content gets created, they can switch between services, which handles a lot of billing and logistics. How do you anticipate working with account settings from these multiple platforms to make that experience delightful for your user?
Yeah, so we unfortunately, because of the compressed time frame of 8 weeks, we haven't been able to really look into that yet, but that is our next immediate goal. Sort of as soon as we were done with this, if we were going to continue on, that would be the next thing we would be working on. It's the biggest one, and we see a way that we can also, by including that feature of managing subscription services across the platforms, you can charge a monthly fee to handle that and make it seamless for users as another way to generate revenue for our product.
Okay, so it would be a convenience fee, a low convenience fee from a revenue generation, or some kind of referral fee between the Netflix platforms.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is Peter. So tough market to handle, but certainly like apropos given COVID times. So just a question on like a potential direction, because I would have thought right coming out the bat that if you didn't have any laws against copyright or the barriers that companies put on streaming, that you could just individually allow people to pay a bundled subscription through you, and then you have access to all streaming platforms, right? But of course you can't do that because of copyright. I guess one question though is if I can have 6 people on my Netflix account and I can have 5 people on my YouTube TV account, can I legally equally distribute subscriptions for a group of people, right? And say, hey, you guys should subscribe together to try to get these shows all at once, because that allows you to hop around, I guess, better given your company.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. We actually had a similar conversation to that last night in our house, just sort of thinking about next steps for our product. We're not entirely sure the answer to that question. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. One of my roommates is dating a lawyer, so maybe she might be able to help. But we're not 100% sure. The other idea we had was, is it possible that maybe you only want Netflix and it's COVID, so you binge watch all 9 seasons of The Office in a week and a half, right? But you have a month-long subscription for that. Is it possible to trade with someone who has Amazon Prime or Hulu, and depending on maybe switch accounts that way? I don't know the answer to these questions. I think it would definitely take looking into the legalese of it, but it's certainly possibilities that we would be more than happy to explore going forward.
Is anyone using it?
Is anyone using it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have over 100 users signed up for our platform right now. It's mostly friends and family, but I've had at least 10 people respond to me that they really love the recommendation they got, and people are looking into it. Yeah.
And so do you know if people are like actually engaging with the product more than just checking it out?
No, not beyond that level, no.
Yeah, I just asked because I mean, recommendations are a wonderful application of machine learning, and you can build a really defensible company performing machine learning in a kind of recommendation setting. The reason I ask about users is that I think you're going to learn a lot from them, and that the most important question for this product and your business is really understanding the way in which people identify and then consume content from the streaming services. And I'm a little skeptical that people are motivated to switch streaming services based solely on like a single title or single TV show or whatever it may be, but I don't know. And so I guess what having user engagement data will tell you is the ways in which people actually do go about discovering and consuming content, and that'll give you a lot of ideas around where to go next with the product. But that's what I think is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, we have, so that was StreamHopper, and we have our last one, which is Math to Code. And Kirsten, if you want to jump in on that one.
Math to Code. Are you a software developer that needs to code up something complex, but are rusty on your math? Or a teacher in a math or computer science program? Or maybe a student stuck on a late night programming assignment? If you are any of the above, then our product is for you. Oftentimes, users encounter sophisticated mathematical equations found in online articles, academic papers, or lecture notes, and have a need to convert this math to working Python code. For many, this conversion from math to code is often quite time-consuming or conceptually difficult to read and translate. We offer a tool that allows you to upload a picture of your math equation, and we will automatically convert that picture into working Python code. Why convert math to Python code? Well, according to recent research, Python is one of the most widely used programming languages in the world, with its primary use found amongst data science and machine learning professionals, all math-heavy fields. Furthermore, most of those users skew younger and are either just starting out their career in the workforce or are currently students themselves, often using services like Wolfram Alpha, Chegg, or WebAssign to do their daily homework. However, there is currently no known competitor in industry that offers the ability to convert pictures to code, making our tool entirely novel and one of a kind. Additionally, we expect a high user adoption, given that we offer a base level limited service entirely free, with conversion to a subscription-based pricing plan at your desired level. So let's see how our application at math2code.com works. Shall we? Let's say I come across some math equations on Wikipedia. I could take a quick snippet of the image here, go to the Math2Code web app, and upload that image like so. And voila, out comes its Python code equivalent. And these don't have to be images that are already pre-formatted for a computer. You can also upload a picture of your handwritten equation like this and convert that to code. Here you go. Our application truly shines, however, when given an equation that most people would find difficult or time-consuming to turn into code, like found in my lecture notes here. Like before, I can take a picture using my snippet tool. Then upload that. And nice, I have my working Python code output here, with the required nested functions already predefined for me. On the right side, you can see educational cards which break down each fundamental step of the conversion process. Overall, we envision this ability to quickly convert between math and code would prove invaluable in a student's educational experience, teachers' curriculums, or even the daily workflow of researchers and industry professionals alike. We hope you begin to use this tool to improve your coding experience. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kirsten. The team lead for Math to Code is Mundi, who is unmuted now.
Hello.
Questions for Mundi?
Mundi, who do you see as your kind of target users for this? I mean, it's a really cool feature, and it reminds me of a company called Socratic in New York. The founder once showed me a demo. It was a tutoring tool for like 8th graders, and you could take a photo of like very basic math, addition, multiplication, and then it would OCR the text and then tutor you through the answer, which was kind of cool. And it was like a really like powerful demo, and I think this kind of feature like lends itself to being demoed, and it like really stands out when it gets demoed. But I'm just curious what kind of use cases beyond, say, like in real life, what are people going to use this for other than simply transcribing math into Python?
So beside our main target user was data science students who are in our programs like our master's program or in bachelor's level programs. Python is being increasingly used all throughout even science programs or anything where we want to bring in coding with the recent STEM movements. And so we envision not everybody having the exact math prerequisites to be able to parse very, very difficult equations. And so we envision this both on the teacher side and on the student side, helping them with their homeworks. But also professional developers can use this tool. We haven't worked yet on this. This is a future scenario, but this can easily be a plugin to a developing environment for coders. And so whenever they come across, some documentation, it's like, oh, okay, there's some math symbols there. I'll just, quickly highlight it and then bring it into their developing environment, and then out pops the code. So yeah.
Yeah, API as an interface would be really cool.
Yeah, this is Peter. I would use this. I think that it's really relevant, especially when, just to give you a little perspective, less of a question, but just a lot of the companies that we see that are machine learning companies, it's less of a, hey, you guys have a really unique, machine learning model, and we're going to invest in you because, it's cutting edge, and, that's your competitive advantage, right? Instead, it's, hey, you guys have a system to readily intake leading research and update your models with what's cutting edge, and your pipeline and your business model and strategy and the market conditions are what makes it an attractive opportunity. In order for them to stay up to date, right, you basically need to read research papers, right? Your CTO needs to read research papers and look at the math, right, and test things out. It's not just one application. So I think that just having this tool, like I said, I would use this because I do that. I build models to just rapidly iterate and incorporate research that's presented in this format. Because sometimes I'll reach out to people and be like, hey, can you just send me your code for the test that you did, because I want to use this, and I'm not going to be a competitor, right, to this professor or student. So just a little bit of insight, because it like I said, I would, if it's available, I would use this.
Yeah, honestly speaking, that was actually my main motivation for this, because I work in a place where we have to read a lot of science literature,
And oftentimes we come across equations in academic papers. And there's a lot of information locked behind academia. And there's a bottleneck there just on math fluency. So yeah, that's a very, very strong use case. And
yeah, I think James and Peter's comments are really well made, and I agree with both of them. I think it's a really interesting product, or I think it's a really interesting feature, and feature's the important word there. I think it's definitely part of something potentially larger. So building products on either side of it could be something. But I also think that the business model you described is not a good one for a few reasons, and that by building products around this really interesting kind of hook or feature you've built, that opens you up to other business models. That's just an initial reaction, but it's a really cool product, and I'd use it myself for all the reasons that Peter explained. Like, our whole portfolio is AI and ML companies that read research papers and implement new model architectures based on reading math papers. So very useful.
Thank you. Yes, I'm in total agreement with that.
All right. Well, I just realized it's noon, and I don't want to take up too much more time. So before we wrap up here, I wanted to first of all, thank the students for doing such hard work. I'd also like to thank the panelists for so much of their time. And then my final thank you will be, of course, to AWS, who provided all the credits that went into building the 11 products that were here, and the 5 ones that we just demonstrated. For the panelists, once again, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're all locked in your houses, so you're kind of stuck, but I also know that you probably have lots of other things to do with your time. So thank you so much. And I'll be sending out a quick survey this afternoon. And hopefully, if you have some time, it'd be great to fill it out, and then we will send that feedback back onto the companies, to the products. So thank you so much for your time, and yeah, thanks to everybody.
Thanks, guys.